Bonjour. Hello, dear loved ones. Today is the 23rd of August, 2023. It is 4 weeks today since I started this travel, and I am currently in the south of France in a village called Bonjour. I arrived here on what would be my mother's 66th birthday, August 9th, and it was really quite special to arrive here on that day. I absolutely felt her support and guidance and love. Traveling in a country that I don't speak the language, although I've been practicing my French for an hour and a half a day the last few days, and it's coming to me much smoother and easier this time around than when I took lessons with my friends, I don't know, maybe like 8 years ago. Yes, and maybe because I'm here in a village where almost no one speaks English. It's been very helpful and beneficial to be in this environment while learning it, because I think I'm picking up the pronunciation, meaning that I hear it almost exclusively when I'm away from home. And home right now is an apartment in a garden. My apartment is behind me. I'm doing a workaway. So this is my, after setting up my own profile for Workaway, this was the first host family that I reached out to. And I feel so very blessed because the work that I do in exchange for my apartment is garden. So I'm doing what I am loving and passionate about doing. Yes, I get to garden 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. And then I have this wonderful little private apartment. I'm a 15-minute bicycle ride from the Mediterranean Sea, where I swim in the afternoons, and it's quite lovely, actually. The French are on holiday right now, and so the beaches get quite crowded. And even though they're crowded, they don't feel crowded. It's really nice that unlike some of the beaches that I had experienced back at home in California before leaving, people aren't all competing with their own little boom boxes over what music to play, in such a small space. It's almost sometimes like people are competing for space, and that doesn't happen here. And it's actually mostly all families, from young to old, and it's very lovely. The water is warm. I was stung by a jellyfish. It's healing now. I think that was 3 or 4 days ago. I didn't see it, and the waters are crystal clear, but I was swimming and I didn't see it, and I felt it immediately. And so I stayed in the water probably another half an hour, because each time I pulled my hand out of the water, it really intensified the burning. So I stayed in the water quite a while, and then as I got out, the swelling occurred, and it was quite swollen for a couple hours. And then the following day it turned into more of like blistering. And I had my session with my oracle sisters, and somebody mentioned urine. Someone mentioned vinegar to clean the venom off, and this was like 2 days after it happened. And another one of my sisters mentioned using my urine, and then lavender essential oil. Oh, I got it. And so I've done that, and it actually has helped. So that whole saying about urine on jellyfish bites, there's something to it. It really does, I guess, help to remove the toxins. But according to what I heard the other day, I guess vinegar is an option if that's not something that someone's comfortable with. But the mosquitoes love me here. But I will say that unlike at home in California, I get bit a lot, which is normal for me. But they just itch for a little period of time and then they heal up, and there's no sign of them. Where at home, when I'm bit, especially in the last year, I have an allergic reaction to them, and a lot of times I'll have some pussing and some, they'll bother me for days, sometimes almost up to a week. And anyway, I'm not finding that to be an issue here, and I'm just curious if it has anything to do with the genetically modified mosquitoes that were released in California. And so anyhow, yes, so I have been gone a month, and I first went to Zanzibar Island, and I was able to visit a friend who lives there. I was only there 2 weeks, and when I left California, I had actually only made plans to visit Zanzibar. I thought maybe I would be there a few months, 2 or 3 months, and then come home. But there was a lot of uncertainty that I felt about that trip going there. It was very interesting. I was asking for guidance, like, where should I go this summer, these summer months? And a friend reached out to me and said, oh, this is where I am. And so I thought, oh, there's my sign, and I'm gonna jump on that and go visit. And in the days leading up to my travel, I was feeling that I was going on this journey, not as like a holiday, not as a vacation, but I actually felt more like I was going on some kind of mission, and I wasn't getting clarity about what exactly that mission was, just that I was going, and that I would be doing work, like working through something. And so that's really what that 2-week experience on Zanzibar was about for me. It was about experiencing parasitic energy out in the world and how to manage and protect my energy. Because, I've been pretty isolated living in nature with just my beloved, the two of us, for these last few years since I came home from Southeast Asia during COVID. And going back out into the world and into a place that's highly populated and filled with energies. Well, I believe I was there, yes, to learn, to be reminded of how important it is that I protect my energy when I am out in the world. And this is a message, of course, it's come through for me, many, many times in these recent years. But I am an experiencer. This is how I learn, through the direct experience of. And so after being in nature in this way that I have been in these last few years, learning to navigate populated areas as who I am now required this very non-gentle experience to teach me and remind me of using my tools. So I did experience I experienced some major fatigue. I had quite a bit of emotions. I was crying quite a bit because I want to first say that I absolutely love Zanzibar, love it there. The local people are kind. I felt extremely safe all the time. I never felt like anybody wanted to harm me, or I didn't worry about theft. None of those things were a concern. it's really just that it was very overwhelming for me, because how people, are able to make a living for themselves is to sell what they have, right? So they're either selling themselves, wanting to be your tour guide, or they're selling products or taxi service. And it is a Muslim country, it is a Muslim island. And so it's just about almost all men who are the ones communicating and wanting to sell. And what I found difficult was that because I walk around with a big smile, looking at like the wonderment of this new place, it really put me in a position where all day long, from the moment I was out of where I was staying, until I retreated back, it was constant that I had somebody constantly asking me the same questions. Where are you from? And and all of this, and let me be your tour guide, or do you need a taxi, or wanting to sell me this. And everybody wanted to touch me. They all wanted to shake my hands, and and so after the first day, I was extremely energetically fatigued and emotional, because also, since I'm extremely empathic and a highly sensitive person, I feel everything in my environment. And then on top of feeling everything in my environment, I had people physically touching me. And so it was very, very overwhelming. And the solution that I found for myself later was to have a tour guide. And so even just having a tour guide so that I could walk around, so that I could have a break from the interaction with everybody else, really, really did help. But I also, the first place that I stayed in, I had bed bugs while I was there. And then the very next location that I went to, which was a beach town that I really, really enjoyed, called Page. Then my first night there, I had falafel, and in the morning I woke up with extreme traveler's diarrhea, and I had digestive issues with that for about 4 days. So again, these are all parasites, right? I mean, bed bugs are a parasite, and having something that I've ingested that's wrecking my digestion is an internal parasite, right? And so it was really representative of the energies that I was working around, navigating through. And so I just really focused on using all of my tools, my meditation practices, taking things like my herbs that I brought, and drinking lots of water, and really intending to clear these parasites. So I left Zanzibar Island very unexpectedly and briefly, and again was asking for guidance. Where to now? And a flight to Paris happened to open up, and so I flew into Paris, and then made my way the following day on the train to the south of France. And I have to say, I have been nurtured ever since I arrived. So really, I feel that the experience of being in Zanzibar was a necessary part of being schooled by the natural world and spirit about how I am to navigate in the world now. As I mean, we're always evolving, and it's been a few years that I've been isolated. And so yes, it was a learning experience about how to be in the world now for me, and what that means or not what it means, but I guess also bringing to my awareness how I influence the energies all around me. So I'm very sensitive to the energies that are around and sense and feel them in numerous ways. And this experience that I've had so far has really brought a greater awareness for me about how I then affect the energy that is around me. So, as a person who didn't have any personal boundaries all the years that I was growing up, childhood, teenagehood, adulthood, until my early 40s, I didn't understand what was happening all the time, that I would feel so much, and I feel things like in my body and in my emotions, and nobody in my family was speaking about being an empath or what that meant, or maybe even didn't know anything about that. And so you all know how much I drank, so I drank my whole life to help numb myself from what I feel, and then to be able to function in the world. And so now that I have an occasional drink, but besides that, I'm not really drinking so much anymore, and also not smoking anymore. And so now when I'm in the world, I am of clear consciousness, and so I feel things and sense things, and I am now able to become conscious of what I'm feeling that isn't mine versus what is mine. And the best way for me to do that is to protect my energy so that I can be very clear on what's mine and what is coming in that isn't. So again, living as isolated as I have been out in nature, I have not had to practice the level of personal boundary, almost like a force field of protecting my auric field and my energy from things that come in, because I've just been out there in nature. So yes. So the beginning of this journey was 2 weeks. It started in Zanzibar, and it was filled with lessons about protecting my energy, recognizing energy signatures that are parasitic in nature, and how to best manage myself in the world around these kind of energies. And I think staying open-hearted and practicing loving kindness while having these boundaries really is what the lessons were about for me in Zanzibar. Because even though I was feeling a lot, and I was also sensitive to the fact that here I was as this American traveler, and I'm in a country where there is great poverty. Of course, the local people living there were so kind and welcoming. they say Hakuna Matata a lot. And I only know that from that Disney movie that was out, but they actually say that, and it is the way of life there, like no worries. And so being in this state of discomfort, dealing with these unseen parasitic energies that exist in these environments, while staying in loving kindness, really was a part of the lesson, I think, and which is what led me to being rewarded with this environment now. So I would say the experience of staying in an open heart and being kind, even through the discomfort I was experiencing, knowing that it was all temporary and all for my learning. For that, I'm really, really grateful for my time in Zanzibar. And I mean, the ocean there is amazing, the land is amazing, the people are amazing. I really did love it there. So I want to be very clear that I'm not saying that it is a parasitic environment. I'm only sharing that that was my experience, that I was meant to have, to bring awareness and remembrance around things energetically for myself. And also to be reminded of how when we are in such a level of uncertainty and discomfort, to be able to navigate without fear, trusting that everything is all happening for my greatest good, as an opportunity to grow and learn even more, and to experience life and all of the parts of life. Yes, and for that I'm so grateful to Zanzibar. And I'm so very grateful to be here now in the south of France. It's very nurturing for me. And so I will leave you all now, say goodbye, salut for now, and share some more soon. I just wanted to give a quick update and let you know where I am and what's been happening so far. I love you all, and thank you for being here. See you again soon. Ciao for now. Mwah.